Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are continuing with section 3.2. I'm going to call this video 3.2 part 2. Notice the directions. So first part, solve each of the following equations for y. And then what you're asked to do is to give your answers using functional notation. Now, a very important thing to remember. Y is the output of a function. X is the input. Another name for y is sometimes called f of x. F is a traditional name for a function. So in general, when I ask you to write something in functional notation, you're going to do two things. You're going to solve the equation for y, which is output, and then at the end of the problem you're going to rename y as f of x, which is another name for y. Here's our first equation. 2x minus 5y equals 10, and we're asked to solve for y. Alright, what I did on the first step, if you notice where I'm bringing down my cursor, I moved the y's to the right side of the equation, and I moved the x's and the constants to the left hand side. And remember, we use inverse operations to do that. So for example, when I'm trying to get rid of the 10, I subtract 10. When I'm trying to get rid of the negative 5y, I add 5y. So I'm down to this point. 2x minus 10 equals 5y. My next step to get y alone is to divide each of the three terms in this equation by 5. Thus, the 2x becomes 2/5 x. Negative 10 divided by 5 becomes negative 2. 5y divided by 5 becomes y. And then remember, at the end of the problem, y is renamed f of x. F of x is equal to 2/5 x minus 2. And even though you weren't asked it in this problem, why not tie in some past concepts? 2/5 would be the slope of this linear function, and negative 2 would be the y-intercept. Another way to say it, m would be 2/5, and b would be negative 2. If you go on to college algebra from here and you're asked to write the y-intercept, the appropriate way to write it, rather than to say b equals negative 2, would be to write it as the ordered pair 0, negative 2. Alright, next equation. 5y over 7 is equal to x. My first step in any equation that involves fractions is to clear the fractions, so I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation through by 7. This results in 5y is equal to 7x. Pretty easy way to solve for y. Divide both sides of the equation by 5. Y is equal to 7x divided by 5. Y is replaced with f of x. And please remember that 7x over 5 can also be written as 7/5 x. Now, even though you weren't asked it here, let's tie in past concepts. This is a linear function. M, which is the slope, would be 7/5, and you don't see b, which means that b would be 0. So the y-intercept would be the ordered pair 0, 0. Alright, our last question that asks us to express something in functional notation. The equation started off as 8x equals 2 pi y. In order to get y alone, we needed to divide both sides of the equation by 2 pi. Remember, an equation is a balance. What you do to the right-hand side, you do to the left-hand side. Otherwise, you're completely throwing off the balance. Okay, on the right-hand side, we get y. On the left-hand side, I have 8x divided by 2 pi. What you need to realize is the 8x and the 2 pi are both factored, so you can cancel any of those factors that you need to, and in this case the 2 goes into the 8 4 times. My answer is 4x on the top, pi on the bottom. Y gets replaced with f of x. F of x equals 4x over pi. Now again, even though this would be pretty weird, if I asked you for the slope of this line, the constant in front of the x would be 4 over pi, and the y-intercept b would be 0, written as an ordered pair, 0, 0. Okay, let's look at this word problem right here. Okay, directions are important. When you change word problems to equations, make sure to define your variable. In other words, let me know what the variable represents. Then write the equation for me. Then solve the equation. And then finally clearly show your answer. What I mean by this step is sometimes the x is not your answer. For example, the question may say, find the angles, the interior angles, plural, of the triangle. Well, there's not just one answer, there would be three. So always remember to answer the question. Let's start off with a fairly direct problem. A number divided by 8 equals the number increased by 2. Find the number. Well, let's be real clear. Let x equal the number. A number divided by 8 is x divided by 8 equals, of course, is equals. The number increased by 2 is x plus 2. One other wording on this that you may come across on Course Compass. Sometimes instead of this being worded a number divided by 8, you will see the phrasing the quotient of a number and 8. It means the same thing. Quotient means divided by. So I have the equation x divided by 8 is equal to x plus 2. When an equation has fractions, our first step is to clear the fractions. My LCD here, my least common denominator, is 8. Each of these three terms gets multiplied by 8. When I multiply this fraction by this fractional term by 8, I'm left with x. And then I get 8x, and 2 times 8 is 16. My next step, I'm going to get all of the variables on the left-hand side of the equation, so I'm going to subtract 8x. This will result in the opposite of 7x is equal to 16. And to finish, we divide by -7, leaving me with the answer x equals -16 over 7. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the remainder of this section I'm going to pick up on another video. Thank you for watching to help yourself prepare not only for this upcoming test, but also for your next course.